The unassuming hero. In the year 2157, Earth was no longer the vibrant blue marble it had once been. The Cruxor, a race of technologically advanced aliens, had conquered the planet 5 years earlier, reducing humanity to little more than slaves and entertainment for their new overlords. Cities lay in ruins, and the once lush landscapes had been transformed into industrial wastelands to serve the aliens' insatiable appetite for resources. Amidst the desolation of what was once New York City, a small figure darted between the shadows of crumbling skyscrapers. Zara, a scrawny 12-year-old girl with tangled dark hair and determined green eyes, clutched a worn backpack to her chest as she navigated the treacherous streets. Her oversized, tattered clothes hung loosely on her frame, a testament to the harsh realities of life under Cruxor rule. Zara had learned early on that survival meant staying invisible. The Cruxor saw humans as little more than vermin, to be exterminated or exploited at will. Those who caught their attention often disappeared, never to be seen again. As an orphan, Zara had no one to protect her, no one to miss her as she vanished. She was alone in a world that had forgotten what it meant to be human. As she rounded a corner, Zara froze. A Cruxor patrol hovered down the street, their sleek, insectoid bodies gleaming in the dim light. Their multifaceted eyes scanned the area, searching for any signs of human activity. Zara pressed herself against a wall, hardly daring to breathe. She knew all too well what happened to children caught by the patrols. They were taken to the dreaded education centers, where they were molded into compliant workers for the alien regime. The patrol passed by, oblivious to the small girl hiding in the shadows. Zara let out a quiet sigh of relief and continued on her way. Her destination was an old library, one of the few buildings left standing in this part of the city. The Cruxor had little interest in human literature, considering it primitive and worthless. For Zara, however, the library was a treasure trove of knowledge, and more importantly, a refuge from the harsh realities of her world. As she slipped through a broken window into the musty interior of the library, Zara allowed herself a small smile. This place, with its towering shelves of books and quiet corners, was the closest thing she had to a home. She made her way to a hidden nook behind a fallen bookcase, where she had created a small nest of blankets and pillows scavenged from abandoned apartments. Settling into her makeshift bed, Zara opened her backpack and pulled out her day's findings: a can of preserved peaches, a slightly moldy loaf of bread, and a tattered book she had found in the ruins of a house. The book, its cover faded and pages yellowed with age, bore the title Legends of Earth's Hidden Power. Zara had grabbed it on impulse, drawn by the promise of stories about a time when humans were more than just slaves. As she ate her meager meal, Zara began to read. The book spoke of ancient artifacts of immense power, hidden away by humanity's ancestors to protect them from those who would misuse them. One legend in particular caught her attention: the story of the cosmic blade, a sword said to have been forged from the heart of a fallen star. According to the legend, the sword could channel the wielder's innermost strength, granting them power beyond imagination. Zara's eyes widened as she read on. The book claimed that the cosmic blade had been hidden somewhere on Earth, waiting for a worthy hero to claim it in humanity's darkest hour. Could it be true? Could such a weapon really exist? And if it did, could it be the key to freeing Earth from the Cruxor? Lost in thought, Zara almost missed the sound of approaching footsteps. She quickly shoved the book into her backpack and pressed herself against the wall, holding her breath. Through a gap in the bookcase, she saw two humans enter the library, a man and a woman, both looking haggard and worn. "Are you sure this is safe, John?" the woman whispered, her eyes darting nervously around the room. The man, John, nodded grimly. "It's as safe as anywhere else, Zara. The Cruxor don't bother with these old buildings. We should be able to rest here for a while before moving on." Zara watched silently as the couple settled into a corner, unpacking their own meager supplies. She debated whether to reveal herself. It had been so long since she had spoken to another human, but years of caution held her back. She didn't know these people, couldn't trust that they wouldn't turn her in for an extra ration or a moment of the Cruxor's favor. As she watched, John pulled out a small device, a radio. Zara realized with a start. Such technology was strictly forbidden by the Cruxor, who controlled all forms of communication. She leaned forward, straining to hear as John fiddled with the dials. Suddenly, a crackling voice emerged from the radio, barely audible, but unmistakably human. Resistance, hope, weapon of power, coordinates. The signal faded in and out, but Zara's heart raced. A resistance. There were humans out there fighting back. John quickly shut off the radio as Sarah kept watch. "Did you hear that?" he whispered excitedly. "The rumors are true. There's a resistance forming, and they found something. A weapon that could turn the tide against the Cruxor." Sarah looked skeptical. "John, we can't put our faith in fairy tales. We need to focus on surviving, on finding a safe place for us and the baby." Zara's eyes widened. The woman was pregnant. In this world, bringing a child into existence was an act of either great hope or great desperation. She found herself admiring the couple's courage. John took Sarah's hand. "This could be our chance, our child's chance, for a better future. We have to try." As the couple continued to discuss their plans in hushed tones, Zara's mind whirled. The radio message, combined with the legend she had just read, couldn't be a coincidence. Her heart pounded with a mixture of fear and excitement. For the first time in years, she felt something she had almost forgotten: hope. Making a split-second decision, Zara gathered her courage and emerged from her hiding place. The couple started at her sudden appearance, John instinctively moving to shield Sarah. "Wait," Zara said, holding up her hands to show she meant no harm. I think I can help you." John and Sarah exchanged wary glances. "Who are you?" John asked, his voice a mixture of suspicion and concern. "My name is Zara," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I've been living here in the library, and I think I know something about the weapon you're looking for." Sarah's eyes softened at the sight of the young girl. "You poor thing," she murmured. "How long have you been on your own?" Zara shrugged, uncomfortable with the pity in the woman's eyes. "A while, but that's not important. Look at this." She pulled out the book and showed them the passage about the cosmic blade. John's eyes widened as he read. This could be it. The weapon the Resistance mentioned. "But how can we trust this?" Sarah asked, gesturing to the book. "It's just an old legend." Zara felt a surge of conviction. "Sometimes legends are born from truth," she said, surprising herself with the strength in her voice. "And right now, a legend might be all we have." John nodded slowly. "The girl's right, Sarah. We can't afford to ignore any possibility, no matter how far-fetched it might seem." Sarah sighed, resting a hand on her swollen belly. "I suppose you're right, but what do we do now?" Zara took a deep breath, hardly believing what she was about to say. "We find it," she declared. "We find the cosmic blade and use it to fight back against the Cruxor." John and Sarah stared at her in disbelief. "We?" John asked. "You're just a child. This isn't your fight." Zara's eyes flashed with determination. "This is everyone's fight," she retorted. "I may be young, but I know this city better than anyone. I can help you navigate, find food and supplies." And she hesitated, then plunged on. "I have nothing left to lose. But you do." She nodded towards Sarah's belly. The couple exchanged a long look, seeming to communicate without words. Finally, John turned back to Zara. "All right," he said softly. "We're in this together. But you have to promise to be careful and do exactly as we say. Deal?" Zara nodded sullenly. "Deal." As they began to plan their next move, Zara felt a strange sensation, a tingling warmth that seemed to emanate from deep within her. For a moment, she thought she saw a faint, silvery glow around her hands, but when she blinked, it was gone. Unknown to Zara, this was the first manifestation of a power that had lain dormant within her, waiting for the right moment to awaken. The cosmic blade, hidden somewhere on Earth, resonated with this awakening, its ancient energies stirring for the first time in millennia. In that moment, in a crumbling library in the ruins of New York City, the first spark of humanity's resurgence had been ignited. Zara, the unassuming orphan, had taken her first step on a path that would change the fate of the world. As night fell, the unlikely trio, a battle-hardened man, his pregnant wife, and a determined young girl, slipped out of the library and into the shadowy streets. Their quest to find the cosmic blade and ignite a rebellion against the Cruxor had begun. Little did they know that their actions had not gone unnoticed. High above the city, in the towering spire that served as the Cruxor's command center, an alarm began to sound. Something had triggered the aliens' sensitive equipment, a surge of energy unlike anything they had encountered on this primitive planet. In the depths of space, other forces stirred. The balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift, and Earth, long dismissed as a backwater world of little consequence, was about to become the center of a conflict that would reshape the cosmos. As Zara led John and Sarah through the ruins of the city, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and exhilaration, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant for something greater. The cosmic blade called to her, a whisper at the edge of her consciousness, urging her forward into the unknown. The first chapter of humanity's resurgence had begun, and at its heart was a 12-year-old girl who dared to believe in legends. The perilous journey. The pre-dawn light cast an eerie glow over the ruins of New York City as Zara, John, and Sarah made their way through the desolate streets. The towering skyscrapers, once symbols of human achievement, now loomed over them like silent sentinels, their broken windows staring down at the small group like empty eye sockets. Zara led the way, her small form darting from shadow to shadow with practiced ease. Despite her young age, she moved with the confidence of someone who had spent years navigating this urban wasteland. John and Sarah followed close behind, their eyes constantly scanning for any sign of Cruxor patrols. As they passed the ruins of Grand Central Terminal, Sarah suddenly gasped and clutched her swollen belly. John was at her side in an instant, his face etched with concern. "Are you all right?" he whispered, helping her to sit on a fallen piece of masonry. Sarah nodded, her face pale. "Just a twinge. The baby's restless today." Zara watched the exchange with a mixture of curiosity and concern. The concept of new life in this world of death and destruction was both fascinating and terrifying to her. "We should rest for a bit," John decided, looking around for a suitable shelter. Zara shook her head. "Not here, it's too exposed. There's a safe place not far from here. We can rest there and figure out our next move." The couple exchanged a glance before nodding in agreement. With John supporting Sarah, they followed Zara through a maze of debris-strewn alleys. Finally, they arrived at what appeared to be an old subway entrance, half hidden by overgrown vines and rubble. "Down here," Zara said, leading them into the darkness. As they descended the crumbling stairs, the air grew cooler and damper. Zara produced a small, hand-cranked flashlight from her backpack, its weak beam barely penetrating the gloom. The tunnel stretched before them, a black maw that seemed to swallow the light. "Are you sure about this?" Sarah asked, her voice tight with anxiety. Zara nodded confidently. "The Cruxor never come down here. They're too big to fit comfortably, and their technology doesn't work well underground. We'll be safe." They walked for what seemed like hours, the only sounds their echoing footsteps and the occasional drip of water from the ceiling. Finally, they emerged into a larger space, an old subway platform that Zara had converted into a makeshift living area. Scavenged furniture, canned food, and bottles of water were neatly arranged along the walls. "Welcome to my other home," Zara said with a hint of pride in her voice. John whistled softly. "Impressive. You've done well for yourself, kid." As Sarah settled onto a worn but clean couch, Zara busied herself preparing a small meal from her supplies. The adults watched her with a mixture of admiration and sadness, struck by the self-sufficiency of this child who had been forced to grow up far too quickly. As they ate, John pulled out the book about the cosmic blade. "We need to figure out where this weapon might be hidden," he said, flipping through the pages. The resistance radio mentioned coordinates, but we didn't catch them all. Zara leaned in, her eyes scanning the text. "The book says the blade was hidden, where the old world meets the new, at the crossroads of human ingenuity and nature's fury." Sarah frowned. That could mean anything. It's too vague. But Zara's mind was racing. "Wait," she said, excitement creeping into her voice. "I think I know what it means. There's an old research facility upstate in a place that used to be called Brookhaven. It was built right on the edge of a nature preserve." John's eyes widened. "Brookhaven National Laboratory. I've heard of it. It was a center for advanced scientific research before the invasion." Zara nodded eagerly. "That has to be it. It's the perfect place to hide something like the cosmic blade, a blend of human technology and natural power." Sarah looked skeptical. "Even if you're right, how are we supposed to get there? It's miles away, and the Cruxer control everything above ground." A sleek smile crept across Zara's face. "Not everything. There's an old maintenance tunnel that leads out of the city. It'll take us most of the way there underground." John and Sarah exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, John nodded. "It's our best shot. We'll rest here for a few hours, then start our journey." As the adults settled into sleep, Zara found herself too wired to rest. She sat at the edge of the platform, her legs dangling over the edge, and pulled out the book about the cosmic blade. As she read, she felt that strange tingling sensation again, stronger this time. The faint silvery glow returned, enveloping her hands and casting dancing shadows on the walls of the subway tunnel. Zara stared at her glowing hands in wonder and fear. What was happening to her? Was this somehow connected to the cosmic blade? She quickly shoved her hands under her legs, extinguishing the light. Whatever this was, she decided to keep it to herself for now. She didn't want to frighten John and Sarah, or give them a reason to leave her behind. Hours later, the unlikely trio set off into the tunnels. Zara led the way, her small flashlight casting a feeble beam ahead of them. The journey was slow and treacherous. In many places, the tunnel had partially collapsed, forcing them to squeeze through narrow gaps or climb over piles of rubble. As they walked, John kept up a quiet conversation, telling Zara about the world before the Cruxor invasion. He spoke of soaring skyscrapers filled with people, of vehicles that could travel faster than the wind, and of a network that connected people across the entire planet. To Zara, who had spent most of her life in the post-invasion world, it sounded like a fairy tale. "And you think we can have that world again?" she asked, her voice small in the vast darkness of the tunnel. John's voice was firm when he replied, "We have to believe we can. That's what we're fighting for." Their progress was slow, hampered by the need to help Sarah over the more difficult obstacles. Despite her condition, she never complained, her face set in a mask of determination. Zara found herself admiring the woman's strength and resilience. As they rested during what they guessed was the second night of their journey, Sarah pulled Zara aside. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything you're doing, for giving us hope." Zara felt a lump form in her throat. It had been so long since anyone had thanked her for anything. She nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Sarah placed a gentle hand on Zara's shoulder. "When this is all over, when we've driven the Cruxer away, you'll always have a place with us, if you want it." Zara's eyes widened. The offer of a family, of belonging somewhere, was almost too much to comprehend. She nodded again, blinking back tears. The moment was shattered by a distant rumble that shook dust from the tunnel ceiling. John was on his feet in an instant, his body tense. "That wasn't natural," he said grimly. "The Cruxer must be searching for us." Zara felt a chill run down her spine. How had they found them? Then she remembered the strange glow from her hands. Had that somehow alerted the aliens to their presence? "We need to move," John said urgently. Now. They packed up quickly and set off at a faster pace, the distant rumbles spurring them on. The air in the tunnel grew thicker, filled with dust and the acrid smell of ozone, a telltale sign of Cruxor energy weapons. As they rounded a bend in the tunnel, they came face to face with a collapsed section. The gap was too small for John or Sarah to squeeze through. "No," Sarah whispered, her face pale with fear. "We're trapped." But Zara was already moving, her small form easily slipping through the gap. "I can get through," she called back. "There's a control panel on the other side. I think I can open it wider." John looked hesitant. "Be careful, Zara, if anything happens." "I'll be fine," she interrupted, flashing them a confident smile she didn't entirely feel. "Trust me." On the other side of the collapse, Zara found the ancient control panel. Most of the buttons were dark, but a few still glowed with a faint light. She reached out to press one, then hesitated. What if she made it worse? The rumbling grew louder, and she heard John calling urgently from the other side. There was no time for doubt. Zara closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and placed her hands on the panel. Instantly, she felt that now familiar tingling sensation. The silvery glow enveloped her hands, spreading to the control panel. To her amazement, lights began to flicker on, and a low hum filled the air. With a grinding screech, the collapsed section of the tunnel began to shift. Chunks of concrete and metal groaned as they were pushed aside by unseen forces. Within moments, a passage large enough for John and Sarah to pass through had opened. As the couple stumbled through, their eyes wide with disbelief, Zara stared at her hands. The glow was fading, but she could still feel the power thrumming through her veins. "How did you do that?" John asked, his voice filled with awe. Zara shook her head, not sure how to explain something she didn't understand herself. I don't know. It just happened." Before they could discuss it further, another explosion rocked the tunnel, much closer this time. "We need to keep moving," Sarah urged, her hand protectively covering her belly. They pressed on, the sounds of pursuit growing ever closer. The tunnel began to slope upward, and soon they could see a faint light ahead. They emerged into the pre-dawn light, finding themselves on the outskirts of a dense forest. In the distance, they could see the ruins of what must have been the Brookhaven National Laboratory. But between them and their goal was a wide, open field, with no cover to protect them from Cruxor patrols. As if on cue, they heard the distinctive hum of a Cruxor hover vehicle approaching. John pulled Zara and Sarah into the shadow of a large tree, his eyes scanning the sky. "We'll never make it across that field without being seen," he said, his voice tight with frustration. Zara looked at her hands, then at the distant laboratory. She thought about the power she had felt in the tunnel, the way it had responded to her need. Could she do it again? Could she somehow use this strange new ability to get them safely across? She took a deep breath and stepped out from behind the tree. "I have an idea," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "But you're going to have to trust me." John and Sarah exchanged a worried glance but nodded. They had come too far to turn back now. Zara closed her eyes, focusing on that tingling sensation, willing it to grow stronger. She thought about the need to protect John and Sarah, about the hope they represented, about the future they were fighting for. The silvery glow returned, stronger than ever. It spread from her hands, enveloping her entire body, then expanding outward to encompass John and Sarah as well. As the Cruxor vehicle crested the hill, Zara opened her eyes, now shining with an otherworldly light. "Run," she said, her voice echoing with power. "They can't see us. Run." And with that, the unlikely trio sprinted across the open field, cloaked in Zara's mysterious energy. The Cruxor vehicle passed overhead, its sensors sweeping the area, but failing to detect the three humans racing towards the promise of salvation and the power to reclaim their world. As they reached the crumbling walls of the laboratory, the glow faded, leaving Zara exhausted but exhilarated. They had made it. The cosmic blade, and humanity's last hope, was within their grasp. But as they caught their breath in the shadow of the ruined building, none of them noticed the small drone that detached itself from the Cruxor vehicle. It hovered silently, its advanced sensors locked onto the residual energy signature left by Zara's power. The Cruxor had not given up the hunt. The true test was yet to come. Trials of fire and ice. The ruined halls of Brookhaven National Laboratory loomed before Zara, John, and Sarah, a testament to humanity's fallen greatness. Shattered windows and crumbling walls told the story of the violent Cruxor invasion, but beneath the destruction, hints of the facility's former glory remained. Zara led the way, her small form darting between twisted metal and fallen concrete. The strange power that had manifested during their journey across the field had faded, leaving her feeling drained but exhilarated. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something monumental. "We need to find the main research area," John said, his eyes scanning the debris-strewn corridor. "That's likely where they would have hidden something as important as the cosmic blade." Sarah nodded, one hand resting on her swollen belly. "But how do we know where to look? This place is enormous." Zara closed her eyes, reaching out with senses she didn't quite understand. There was a faint pull, a whisper at the edge of her consciousness. "This way," she said, pointing down a darkened hallway. "I can feel something." John and Sarah exchanged a glance but followed without question. They had come too far to doubt Zara now. As they ventured deeper into the facility, the air grew colder. Their breath misted in front of them, and frost began to form on the walls. Zara shivered, pulling her tattered jacket tighter around her thin frame. "This isn't natural," Sarah murmured, her eyes wide with concern. "It's the middle of summer. Where's this cold coming from?" Before anyone could respond, a low rumble shook the building. Dust and small pieces of debris rained down from the ceiling. "The Cruxor," John said grimly. "They must have followed us somehow. We need to hurry." They picked up their pace, navigating through a maze of laboratories and offices. The cold intensified with each step, until icicles hung from exposed pipes and their feet crunched on a thin layer of frost with each step. Suddenly, Zara stopped short. Before them stood a massive door, its surface covered in a thick layer of ice. Strange symbols glowed faintly beneath the frozen surface, pulsing with an otherworldly light. "This is it," Zara breathed, her voice filled with awe. "The cosmic blade is behind this door. I can feel it." John approached the door, running his hand over the icy surface. "But how do we open it? There's no visible lock or handle." Zara stepped forward, drawn by an instinct she couldn't explain. She placed her small hand on the center of the door, where the symbols glowed brightest. Instantly, she felt that now familiar tingling sensation. The silvery glow enveloped her hand, spreading across the surface of the door. The ice began to crack and melt, revealing intricate circuitry beneath. The symbols flared brightly, then rearranged themselves into a complex pattern. With a deep, resonant hum, the door began to slide open. "How did you do that?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with wonder. Zara shook her head, just as amazed as the adults. "I don't know. It's like the door recognized me somehow." As the door fully opened, a blast of frigid air rushed out, carrying with it the scent of ozone and something else, something ancient and powerful. The room beyond was dark, illuminated only by a soft, pulsing blue light at its center. They stepped inside cautiously, their eyes adjusting to the dim light. The room was circular, its walls covered in the same strange symbols that had been on the door. In the center, hovering above a raised platform, was a sword unlike anything Zara had ever seen. The cosmic blade was a marvel of design, its blade a shimmering fusion of metal and energy. Stars seemed to swirl within its surface, and arcs of electricity danced along its edge. The hilt was adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "It's real," John whispered, his voice filled with awe and a touch of fear. The legends were true. Zara felt drawn to the sword, an irresistible pull that urged her forward. She took a step towards the platform, then another. Zara, wait, Zara called out, but her voice seemed distant, muffled. As Zara approached the cosmic blade, the pulsing blue light intensified. The sword began to hum, a sound that resonated deep within her chest. She reached out, her small hand trembling slightly. The moment her fingers touched the hilt, a surge of energy coursed through her body. Images flashed before her eyes. Ancient battles, lost civilizations, the vast expanse of the cosmos. She saw the Cruxor invasion, but from a different perspective. She saw the fear in their eyes as they faced a power they couldn't comprehend. And then, as quickly as it had begun, the vision faded. Zara found herself holding the cosmic blade, its weight surprisingly light in her hands. The sword had shrunk, adapting to her small stature, but she could feel the immense power contained within. Zara? John's voice broke through her daze. Are you all right? She turned to face them, the cosmic blade glowing softly in her grasp. I'm fine, she said, her voice sounding strange to her own ears. It chose me. The sword chose me. Before John or Sarah could respond, another explosion rocked the building, much closer this time. The Cruxor had found them. We need to get out of here, John said urgently. Can you use the sword to help us escape? Zara looked down at the cosmic blade, uncertainty flickering across her face. I don't know how to control it yet. It's so powerful. I'm afraid I might hurt you by accident. Sarah stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Zara's shoulder. We trust you, Zara. You've gotten us this far. Whatever happens, we face it together. Strengthened by Sarah's words, Zara nodded. She closed her eyes, focusing on the energy flowing through the sword and into her body. She thought of protection, of safety, of escape. The cosmic blade flared to life, its glow intensifying until it filled the entire room. A sphere of energy expanded outward, enveloping Zara, John, and Sarah. As the energy field stabilized, Zara opened her eyes. I think I can get us out of here, she said, her voice filled with a confidence she didn't entirely feel. But you need to stay close to me. They made their way back through the frozen corridors, the energy field deflecting falling debris and protecting them from the intensifying cold. As they neared the exit, they heard the distinctive screech of Cruxor energy weapons. They're right outside, John said, peering around a corner. We'll never make it past them. Zara gripped the cosmic blade tighter, feeling its power surge in response to her determination. Yes, we will, she said firmly. When I say run, run as fast as you can. Don't stop for anything. John and Sarah nodded, preparing themselves. Zara took a deep breath, then stepped out into the open, the cosmic blade held high. The Cruxor soldiers turned as one, their insectoid eyes widening at the sight of the small human girl wielding a weapon of legend. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Then Zara brought the sword down in a sweeping arc. A wave of energy burst forth, slamming into the Cruxor ranks. Aliens were thrown back, their weapons shattering under the onslaught. Run, Zara shouted, and they sprinted forward. The world became a blur of motion and chaos. Cruxor energy bolts sizzled past them, deflected by the sword's protective field. Zara swung the cosmic blade again and again, each strike sending out pulses of energy that cleared their path. They ran until their lungs burned, until the sounds of pursuit faded behind them. Finally, they collapsed in the shelter of a dense grove of trees, gasping for breath. We did it, Sarah panted, her eyes wide with disbelief. John nodded, a grin spreading across his face despite his exhaustion. We sure did, and it's all thanks to you, Zara. Zara looked down at the cosmic blade, still glowing softly in her hands. The enormity of what had just happened began to sink in. They had found the legendary weapon, escaped the Cruxor, and taken the first real step towards freeing humanity. But their journey was far from over. As if to emphasize this point, a distant explosion lit up the sky. The Cruxor were regrouping, and they would not give up easily. What do we do now? Sarah asked, her hand unconsciously moving to protect her unborn child. John's face grew serious. We find the resistance. With the cosmic blade, we might actually have a chance of driving the Cruxer off our planet. Zara nodded, her young face set with determination. And I'll learn to control this power. I'll become strong enough to protect everyone. As they sat there, catching their breath and planning their next move, none of them noticed the small, spherical object hovering silently at the edge of the clearing. The Cruxer drone recorded everything, its advanced sensors focused intently on the cosmic blade and the young girl who wielded it. Miles away, in the towering spire that served as the Cruxer command center, alarms began to blare. The High Commander, a being of immense power and cruelty, watched the drone's footage with growing concern. Impossible, the High Commander hissed, its multifaceted eyes narrowing. The humans have found the cosmic blade, and worse, they have found one who can wield it. The High Commander turned to its subordinates, its voice cold with fury. Deploy all forces. I want that weapon, and I want the girl. Alive if possible, dead if necessary, but do not let them reach the resistance. As the Cruxer war machine rumbled to life, preparing for all-out war, Zara, John, and Sarah began their perilous journey towards an uncertain future. The cosmic blade hummed with power, a beacon of hope in a world shrouded in darkness. Little did they know that their actions had set in motion events that would reshape not just Earth, but the entire galaxy. The Cruxer Empire, long unchallenged, faced its first real threat in millennia, and at the center of it all was a young girl who had gone from nameless orphan to humanity's last, best hope. As they moved through the night, Zara felt the weight of responsibility settling on her small shoulders. She looked up at the stars, visible now that they were away from the ruined cities, and made a silent vow. She would master this power, no matter the cost. She would become the hero Earth needed. The cosmic blade pulsed in response to her determination, as if acknowledging her promise. And somewhere in the vast expanse of space, other forces began to stir. The balance of power was shifting, and the fate of worlds hung in the balance. The true test was yet to come, but for the first time in years, hope burned bright on planet Earth. The legend of the cosmic blade and the unlikely hero who wielded it was about to become a rallying cry for oppressed humans everywhere. As dawn broke on the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold, Zara, John, and Sarah pressed on. Their destination, the hidden base of the human resistance. Their mission, to spark a revolution that would reclaim Earth and secure a future for all humanity. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, filled with trials of fire and ice, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Together, they would write a new chapter in human history, a story of courage, hope, and the indomitable spirit of a species that refused to be conquered. The alien stronghold. The journey to the resistance base was arduous, filled with close calls and moments of breathtaking danger. Zara, John, and Sarah moved under the cover of night, avoiding main roads and open areas where Cruxer patrols might spot them. The cosmic blade, now wrapped in cloth to hide its glow, was a constant presence at Zara's side, its power humming just beneath the surface. As they traveled, Zara practiced with the sword whenever they could find a safe moment. She was amazed at how quickly she was learning to control its power, as if the knowledge was being downloaded directly into her mind. John watched her training sessions with a mixture of awe and concern. "You're getting better every day," he said one evening as they rested in the ruins of an old farmhouse. "But remember, Zara, you're still just a kid. Don't push yourself too hard." Zara nodded, but her eyes were distant. She could feel the weight of responsibility growing heavier with each passing day. "I have to be ready," she said softly. "The Cruxer won't wait for me to grow up." Sarah, who had been keeping watch by the window, suddenly tensed. "Someone's coming," she whispered urgently. They quickly gathered their meager belongings, preparing to flee, but before they could move, the door burst open. Zara raised the cosmic blade, its energy field flaring to life around them. To their surprise, instead of Cruxor soldiers, they found themselves facing a group of humans. The newcomers were dressed in mismatched armor, carrying a variety of weapons, some human, some clearly scavenged from Cruxor technology. "Lower your weapons," a tall woman at the front of the group commanded. Her face was scarred, and her eyes held the hardness of someone who had seen too much suffering. "We're not here to hurt you. We're the resistance." John stepped forward, placing a calming hand on Zara's shoulder. "We've been looking for you," he said. "We have something that could turn the tide against the Cruxor." The woman's eyes narrowed, then widened as she caught sight of the partially unwrapped cosmic blade. "By all that's holy," she breathed. "You found it. You actually found it." Introductions were made quickly. The woman was Commander Elena Reyes, leader of the Eastern Resistance Cell. She and her team had been tracking unusual energy signatures in the area, hoping to find new weapons to use against the Cruxor. "We never imagined we'd find the cosmic blade," Elena said as they made their way to the hidden resistance base. "And in the hands of a child, no less. The prophecy was true." Zara frowned. "What prophecy?" Elena glanced at her, a hint of sympathy in her eyes. "There's a lot you need to know, kid, but it'll have to wait until we're safe." The resistance base was a marvel of human ingenuity and determination. Hidden deep underground in a network of natural caves and abandoned mine shafts, it buzzed with activity. Humans of all ages worked tirelessly, maintaining equipment, training, and planning operations against the Cruxor. As they entered the main cavern, a hush fell over the crowd. All eyes turned to Zara and the cosmic blade. Whispers rippled through the gathered resistance fighters. "It's true. The savior has come. We have a chance." Elena led them to a private chamber where a group of resistance leaders had gathered. Maps and holographic displays covered the walls, showing Cruxor's strongholds and patrol routes. "Now," Elena said, turning to face Zara, John, and Sarah, "tell us everything." Over the next few hours, they recounted their journey, from Zara's discovery of the ancient book to their daring escape from Brookhaven. The resistance leaders listened intently, their expressions a mixture of hope and skepticism. When they finished, an older man with a cybernetic eye, introduced as Dr. Marcus Chen, the Resistance's chief scientist, leaned forward. "The cosmic blade is even more powerful than we imagined," he said, his voice filled with excitement. "With it, we might actually have a chance of taking down the Cruxor's main stronghold." Zara's eyes widened. "Their main stronghold, you mean, attack them directly?" Elena nodded grimly. "It's a risky plan, but it might be our only shot. The Cruxor's central command structure is housed in a massive tower in what used to be Washington, D.C. If we can take it out, we might be able to disrupt their entire operation on Earth." John frowned. "That's suicide. The place will be heavily guarded." "It is," Elena agreed. "But we've been working on a plan. We've discovered a weakness in their defenses, a blind spot in their sensor grid. If we can get a small team inside, we might be able to sabotage their systems from within." Sarah, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "And you want Zara to be part of this team? She's just a child." Elena's expression softened slightly. "I know it's not fair, but Zara is the only one who can wield the cosmic blade. Without it, we don't stand a chance." Zara stood up, her small frame somehow seeming larger in that moment. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady. "This is what I've been preparing for. This is how we save Earth." The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. Zara trained harder than ever, pushing the limits of her connection with the cosmic blade. John and Sarah worked with the Resistance, sharing their knowledge of Cruxor patrol patterns and behavior. Finally, the day of the mission arrived. The plan was daring in its simplicity. A small team would infiltrate the Cruxor's stronghold using a captured alien shuttle. Once inside, they would make their way to the central control room and use the cosmic blade to overload the tower's power core, bringing the entire structure crashing down. As Zara prepared to board the shuttle, John and Sarah pulled her aside for a final goodbye. "We're so proud of you," Sarah said, tears in her eyes. You've grown so much, Zara. You're not just fighting for yourself anymore. You're fighting for all of us. John knelt down, looking Zara in the eye. Remember everything we've taught you. Trust your instincts and trust the blade. You can do this. Zara hugged them both tightly, fighting back tears of her own. I'll come back, she'd promised. And when I do, we'll be free. The journey to Washington, D.C. was tense, the captured Cruxor shuttle slipping through the alien patrols with agonizing slowness. Zara sat in the back, the cosmic blade across her lap, its energy pulsing in sync with her heartbeat. As they approached the massive Cruxor tower, Zara felt a chill run down her spine. The structure was a monstrosity of alien architecture, all sharp angles and pulsing energy fields. It seemed to pierce the very sky, a stark reminder of humanity's subjugation. We're approaching the blind spot, Elena said from the pilot's seat. Everyone ready? The team, consisting of Elena, Zara, and 3 other resistance fighters, nodded grimly. This was it. There was no turning back now. They landed in a secluded maintenance bay, the stolen access codes allowing them to slip past the outer defenses. As they disembarked, Zara unwrapped the cosmic blade, its glow casting eerie shadows in the alien environment. Remember the plan, Elena whispered as they made their way deeper into the stronghold. We get to the central control room, overload the core, and get out. No heroics, no detours. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, using stolen Cruxor tech to avoid detection. Zara's heart pounded in her chest, every shadow seeming to hide an enemy ready to pounce. As they neared the central control room, alarms suddenly blared to life. They had been detected. Run, Elena shouted, and the team sprinted forward. Cruxor soldiers poured into the corridor, their energy weapons firing in a devastating barrage. Zara raised the cosmic blade, its energy field expanding to protect the team. She felt each impact like a physical blow, the sword drawing on her own strength to maintain the shield. They burst into the control room, the doors sealing shut behind them. Elena and the others immediately set to work, trying to access the core controls. We need more time. One of the resistance fighters shouted. The systems locked us out. Zara turned to face the sealed doors, which were already beginning to glow red as the Cruxor tried to burn their way through. She took a deep breath, centering herself as she had practiced so many times. I'll hold them off, she said, her voice calm despite the fear coursing through her. Just get that core overloaded. The doors exploded inward, and a wave of Cruxor soldiers poured into the room. Zara met them head-on, the cosmic blade singing through the air. Each swing sent out waves of energy, throwing aliens back and shattering their weapons. But there were so many of them. For every Cruxor she struck down, 2 more took its place. Zara felt herself tiring, the constant drain of the sword's power taking its toll. Just as she thought she couldn't hold on any longer, she heard Elena shout triumphantly. We've done it. The core's going critical. The entire tower began to shake, alarms blaring at a deafening pitch. The Cruxor soldiers, realizing the danger, began to retreat. Zara, we need to go, Elena called out. This whole place is coming down. But as Zara turned to join her team, she saw a massive figure step into the room. It was unlike any Cruxor she had seen before, larger, more heavily armored, with eyes that glowed with malevolent intelligence. The High Commander, one of the resistance fighters, gasped. The High Commander's voice boomed through the room, a sound that seemed to bypass the ears and resonate directly in their minds. You think you've won, little human. This is just the beginning. Your planet will burn for this defiance. Zara stood her ground, the cosmic blade held before her. No, she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. This is where it ends. Earth is our home, and we're taking it back. The High Commander laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Brave words from such a small creature. Let's see if you can back them up. It moved with shocking speed for its size, a massive energy weapon materializing in its hands. Zora barely had time to raise the cosmic blade before a blast of searing energy slammed into her. The sword's protective field held, but Zora was thrown back, slamming into a control panel. She struggled to her feet, her entire body aching. "Zora, we have to go," Elena shouted, trying to reach her, but the High Commander stood between them, its massive form blocking the way. Zora looked at Elena, then at the cosmic blade in her hands. In that moment, she knew what she had to do. "Get out of here," she yelled to Elena and the others. "I'll hold it off. Just make sure everyone knows. Earth is fighting back." Before Elena could protest, Zora charged at the High Commander. The cosmic blade flared with power, responding to her desperate need. She poured everything she had into it: her fear, her hope, her love for the family she had found, her determination to see Earth free. The sword erupted with energy, a blinding flash that filled the entire room. The High Commander roared in pain and fury, its armor cracking under the onslaught. Zora felt herself falling, the world around her dissolving into light. The last thing she heard was Elena's voice, calling her name. Then everything went dark. Miles away, in the Resistance base, John and Sarah watched the sky light up as the Cruxsub Tower collapsed. Tears streamed down their faces, tears of joy for the victory, and tears of fear for the little girl who had become their daughter in all but blood. As the dust settled and the cheers of the Resistance fighters filled the air, they clung to each other and to the hope that somehow, somewhere, Zora had survived. The battle was won, but the war was far from over, and the legend of the girl with the cosmic blade was only just beginning. The sacred sword. The world was a blur of light and shadow, pain and numbness. Zora floated in a void, untethered from time and space. Fragments of memory flashed through her mind: the blinding explosion, the High Commander's roar of fury, the cosmic blade pulsing with unimaginable power. Slowly, agonizingly, consciousness returned. Zora opened her eyes to find herself in a place that defied description. It was as if she stood in the heart of a star, surrounded by swirling cosmic energies. Streams of light in every color imaginable flowed around her, carrying with them whispers of ancient knowledge. "Where am I?" she wondered aloud, her voice echoing strangely in the void. "You are everywhere and nowhere, young wielder," a voice responded, seeming to come from all directions at once. "You are in the heart of the cosmic blade, the nexus of its power." Zora spun around, trying to locate the source of the voice. "Who are you? What happened to me?" A figure began to coalesce from the swirling energies, a being of pure light, vaguely humanoid in shape, but constantly shifting and changing. "I am the spirit of the cosmic blade, the collective consciousness of all who have wielded it throughout the ages, and you, Zora, are the latest in a long line of champions." Memories flooded back: the battle in the Cruxsor stronghold, her desperate stand against the High Commander. Did I die?" she asked, her voice trembling. The spirit's face seemed to soften. "Not quite. Your physical form was gravely injured, but your connection to the cosmic blade saved you, bringing your consciousness here while your body heals." Zora looked down at her hands, noticing for the first time that they seemed to glow with the same energy that surrounded her. But what about the others? Elena, the Resistance, John and Sarah, did they make it out? "Your actions bought them the time they needed to escape," the spirit assured her. "The Cruxsor stronghold has fallen, dealing a significant blow to their control over Earth. But the war is far from over." A wave of relief washed over Zora, followed quickly by determination. "Then I need to go back. I need to keep fighting." The spirit's form rippled, as if sighing. "It's not that simple, young one. Your body needs time to heal. And more importantly, you need to truly understand the power you wield. The cosmic blade is more than just a weapon. It's a key to unlocking the fundamental forces of the universe." Zora frowned, frustration building within her. "But I don't have time for some mystical training montage. Every moment I'm in here, the Cruxsor are hurting more people." To her surprise, the spirit laughed, a sound like tinkling crystals. Time flows differently here, Zara. What feels like moments to you could be days or even weeks in the physical world. And as for training, the spirit's form expanded, filling Zara's vision with a tapestry of stars and galaxies. You're about to hit a crash course in cosmic power. Over what felt like both an eternity and an instant, Zara learned. The spirit of the cosmic blade showed her the true nature of reality, the interconnectedness of all things, the delicate balance of cosmic forces that held the universe together. She saw how the blade tapped into these forces, channeling them through the will of its wielder. She relived the memories of past champions, mighty warriors, wise sages, and unassuming heroes who had taken up the blade in times of great need. She felt their triumphs and their sorrows, their hopes and their fears. Most importantly, she learned control. The raw power she had wielded before was nothing compared to the precision and finesse she now possessed. The cosmic blade was an extension of her will, responding to her thoughts and emotions with incredible accuracy. As her training neared its end, the spirit spoke again. You have learned much, Zara, but the greatest challenges still lie ahead. The Cruxer are wounded, but not defeated, and there are forces at work in the universe far beyond what you have faced so far. Zara nodded, feeling both excited and apprehensive. I'm ready. I have to be. The spirit's form began to fade, the swirling energies around them growing brighter. Remember, young champion, the cosmic blade's power comes with great responsibility. Use it wisely and never lose sight of what you're fighting for. As the spirit disappeared entirely, Zara felt herself being pulled back, the cosmic void giving way to physical sensation. Pain returned, a dull ache throughout her body, but with it came a sense of strength and purpose she had never known before. She opened her eyes to find herself in a dimly lit room, lying on a makeshift bed. Medical equipment beeped softly nearby, monitoring her vital signs. As her vision cleared, she saw two figures slumped in chairs by her bedside, their heads bowed in exhausted sleep. John, Sarah. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it was enough. The two adults jerked awake, their eyes widening in disbelief and joy. Zara. Sarah cried, tears streaming down her face as she gently embraced the girl. Oh, thank God. We thought we'd lost you. John joined the hug, his strong arms enveloping both of them. You did it, kiddo. You actually did it. The Cruxor stronghold is gone, and resistance cells all over the world are rising up. Zara hugged them back, relishing the warmth and love she felt. But a part of her mind was already racing ahead, processing the new knowledge and power she had gained. How long was I out? She asked. Almost 3 weeks, John replied, his voice filled with concern. The doctors, they weren't sure you'd ever wake up. But the cosmic blade kept pulsing, like it was keeping you alive somehow. Zara nodded, not surprised. It was, and it was teaching me. She held out her hand, concentrating for a moment. The cosmic blade materialized in her grasp, its energy humming in perfect harmony with her own. Sarah gasped, while John's eyes widened in amazement. How'd you do that? He asked. I've learned a lot, Zara said, a small smile playing on her lips. And I'm ready to do more. Where's Elena? We need to plan our next move. As if on cue, the door opened and Elena strode in. The resistance leader's face lit up with relief and excitement when she saw Zara awake. Welcome back to the land of the living, kid. You had us all worried. Zara sat up straighter, wincing slightly at the lingering pain in her body. Elena, we need to gather the resistance leaders. I have information that could change everything. Elena raised an eyebrow, but nodded. All right, but first, there's someone you need to meet. She stepped aside, revealing a figure standing in the doorway. Zara's breath caught in her throat. The newcomer was clearly not human. Their skin was a pale blue, with intricate patterns swirling across its surface. They had large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to hold the depths of space within them. Greetings, wielder of the cosmic blade, the aliens said, their voice melodious and otherworldly. I am Xerixian, emissary of the Galactic Council. We have been watching Earth's struggle with great interest, and your recent victory has changed things. Zara glanced at the others, seeing her own surprise mirrored in their faces. The Galactic Council, she asked. There are other aliens out there besides the Cruxor. Zarixian nodded, a gesture that seemed both familiar and alien at the same time. Many. The Cruxor are but one species in a vast and complex galaxy. Their invasion of Earth was unsanctioned, a rogue action that the Council had been debating how to address. Your use of the cosmic blade has forced our hand. Elena stepped forward, her eyes narrowing. What exactly does that mean for us? It means, Zarixian said, that Earth is no longer a simple backwater planet to be ignored. The wielder of the cosmic blade is a figure of great importance in galactic affairs. We are here to offer our assistance in driving the Cruxor from your world, and to extend an invitation for Earth to join the galactic community. The room fell silent as the implications of Zarixian's words sank in. Zara looked down at the cosmic blade, still humming softly in her hands. She thought of everything she had learned in the heart of the sword, of the vastness of the universe and the delicate balance of cosmic forces. She thought of the responsibility that now rested on her shoulders, not just for Earth, but potentially for the entire galaxy. Okay, she said finally, her voice steady and determined. Let's talk. Over the next few hours, Zara and the resistance leaders met with Zarixian, discussing the current state of the war against the Cruxor and the potential for galactic intervention. The alien emissary explained that while the Council could not directly intervene without risking a larger conflict, they could provide advanced technology and intelligence to aid the human resistance. As the meeting drew to a close, Zara stood up, the cosmic blade gleaming at her side. We appreciate the Council's offer, she said, her young voice carrying a weight of authority that surprised even her. But this is our fight. We'll accept your help, but Earth's freedom will be won by human hands. Zarixian bowed slightly, a gesture of respect. As you wish, young wielder. We will provide what assistance we can, but the fate of Earth remains in your hands. As the others filed out of the room, making plans and preparations for the next phase of the war, John and Sarah hung back. They looked at Zara with a mixture of pride and concern. Are you sure about this? Sarah asked gently. It's a lot of responsibility for anyone, let alone someone your age. Zara nodded, feeling the weight of the cosmic blade at her side. I'm sure. This is what I was meant to do. I can feel it. John knelt down, looking her in the eye. Just remember, no matter what happens out there, no matter what kind of cosmic hero you become, you'll always have a home with us. You'll always be our daughter. Tears welled up in Zara's eyes, and she hugged them both fiercely. For a moment, she wasn't the wielder of the cosmic blade or Earth's champion. She was just a young girl, cherishing the love of her family. But as she pulled away, her expression hardened with determination. She walked to the window, looking out at the bustling resistance base. In the distance, she could see the ruins of the fallen Cruxor stronghold, a testament to what humanity could achieve when united. The cosmic blade hummed at her side, resonating with her resolve. Zara knew that the hardest battles were yet to come. The Cruxor would not give up Earth easily, and there were still mysteries surrounding the blade and its connection to the larger galaxy. But for the first time since the invasion, there was real hope. Humanity had a chance not just to survive, but to thrive among the stars. Zara turned back to John and Sarah, a small smile on her face. Let's go save the world, she said, and then, let's see what's out there waiting for us. As they left the room together, the cosmic blade pulsed with energy, as if in agreement. The next chapter of Earth's story, and Zara's, was about to begin. Humanity's last stand. The months following Zara's awakening were a whirlwind of activity. With the aid of the Galactic Council's technology and Zara's newfound mastery of the cosmic blade, the human resistance made significant strides against the Cruxor occupation. Cities were liberated, alien strongholds fell, and hope spread like wildfire across the planet. But the Cruxer were far from defeated. As news of Earth's rebellion spread through their empire, reinforcements arrived. Massive warships that darkened the skies and legions of battle-hardened troops eager to crush the human insurgency. On a crisp autumn morning, Zara stood atop a hill overlooking what was once Washington, D.C., the city. Once the seat of human government, had been transformed into a sprawling Cruxor fortress. It was here that the alien leaders had regrouped, consolidating their remaining forces for a final, desperate stand. Quite a sight, isn't it? Elena's voice came from behind her. The resistance leader looked tired but determined, the scars on her face a testament to the brutal battles of the past few months. Zara nodded, her hand resting on the hilt of the cosmic blade. "This is it," she said softly. "Everything we've fought for comes down to this battle." Elena placed a hand on Zara's shoulder. "Are you ready for this, kid? There's no shame in sitting this one out. You've already done more than anyone could have asked." Zara shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips. "You know I can't do that. This is what the cosmic blade chose me for. This is where I'm meant to be." As they made their way back to the resistance camp, Zara marveled at how much had changed. The ragtag group of survivors she had first encountered had grown into a formidable army. Humans worked alongside alien allies, operating advanced weaponry provided by the Galactic Council. The air buzzed with a mixture of anticipation and fear. Everyone knew that this battle would decide the fate of Earth. In the command tent, John and Sarah were poring over holographic maps, planning the assault. Sarah's pregnancy was now visible, her swollen belly a reminder of what they were fighting for, a future free from alien oppression. "Zara," John called out as she entered. "Good you're here. We've just received some troubling intel from our scouts." The holographic display shifted, showing a massive energy signature at the heart of the Cruxor fortress. "They've built some kind of super weapon," Sarah explained, her voice tight with concern. "From what we can tell, it's powerful enough to devastate the entire eastern seaboard if they activate it." "They won't," Zara said firmly. She closed her eyes, reaching out with her senses as the spirit of the cosmic blade had taught her. She could feel the malevolent energy of the Cruxor weapon, a discordant note in the cosmic symphony. "I can disable it, but I'll need to get close." Elena frowned. "That's suicide, Zara. The place will be heavily guarded. Even with the cosmic blade, you can't fight an entire army alone." "She won't be alone," a new voice chimed in. Zarixian, the Galactic Council emissary, entered the tent. "I have received word from the Council. Given the severity of the threat, they have authorized direct intervention. A strike team of our most elite warriors will accompany Zara to neutralize the superweapon." John and Sarah exchanged worried glances. Despite everything Zara had been through, despite the power she wielded, she was still their little girl. The thought of sending her into the heart of enemy territory terrified them. Zara sensed their concern and moved to embrace them both. "I'll come back," she promised. "We're going to win this together." And then she placed a hand on Sarah's belly, feeling the baby kick. "And then we're going to build a better world for all of us." As dawn broke on the day of the assault, the resistance army mobilized. Tanks and armored vehicles rumbled into position, while squadrons of fighters, a mix of refurbished human jets and sleek alien craft, took to the skies. At the forefront, Zara stood with her strike team, the cosmic blade glowing with barely contained power. Elena's voice crackled over the comms. "All units, prepare to engage. Remember, our primary objective is to keep the Cruxor forces occupied while Zara's team infiltrates the fortress. Good luck, and give 'em hell." With a thunderous roar, a battle began. The resistance forces surged forward, meeting the Cruxor defenders in a clash of energy weapons and explosions. The sky lit up with anti-aircraft fire as fighters dueled overhead. Amidst the chaos, Zara and her team slipped through the Cruxor lines. The alien warriors provided by the Galactic Council were impressive to behold, each a master of combat from a different world, wielding exotic weapons and abilities. But it was Zara, the young human girl with the glowing sword, who led the charge. They fought their way through the outer defenses of the fortress, the cosmic blade slicing through Cruxor armor like paper. Zara moved with a fluid grace, her movements guided by an instinct honed through months of training and battle. Each swing of the blade sent out waves of energy, disrupting Cruxor weapons and shields. As they penetrated deeper into the fortress, the resistance grew fiercer. Elite Cruxor guards, armed with weapons that could level city blocks, swarmed towards them. For a moment, it seemed like they would be overwhelmed. But Zara stood firm, the cosmic blade blazing in her hands. She reached deep within herself, tapping into the wellspring of power the spirit of the blade had shown her. With a cry that seemed to shake the very foundations of the fortress, she unleashed a wave of pure cosmic energy. The Cruxor guards were thrown back, their weapons shattering. The walls of the corridor buckled and warped, reality itself seeming to ripple around Zara. Her alien allies stared in awe, realizing that the legends of the cosmic blade's power had not been exaggerated. "Come on," Zara said, her voice steady despite the tremendous energy she had just channeled. "We're almost there." They burst into the central chamber of the fortress, where the Cruxor superweapon pulsed with malevolent energy. And there, standing before it, was a familiar figure, the High Commander, somehow survived from their last encounter. "So," the High Commander's voice boomed, filled with a mixture of rage and grudging respect. "The little human returns. I must admit, I underestimated you before. It will not happen again." Zara stepped forward, the cosmic blade humming in her hands. "It's over," she said. "Earth is free. Leave now, and you might survive." The High Commander laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "Brave words, child. But do you really think your pitiful resistance can stand against the might of the Cruxor Empire? This weapon will reduce your cities to ash, and your people will beg for the mercy of enslavement." "Not if I have anything to say about it," Zara replied. She glanced at her alien allies. "Take care of the guards. The commander is mine." What followed was a battle that would be remembered in legend for generations to come. The High Commander was a whirlwind of destruction, its advanced armor and weapons a match for even the elite Galactic Council warriors. But Zara met it blow for blow, the cosmic blade singing through the air. As they fought, Zara felt something strange, a resonance between the cosmic blade and the Cruxor's superweapon. She realized with a start that they were connected somehow, two sides of the same cosmic coin. With this realization came an idea, a desperate gambit that might just save them all. Dodging a vicious swipe from the High Commander, Zara disengaged and sprinted towards the superweapon. The alien leader, realizing her intent, rolled in fury and gave chase. But it was too late. Zara plunged the cosmic blade into the heart of the Cruxor device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like reality itself tearing, energy exploded outward. Zara felt herself being lifted off her feet, the power of the cosmic blade and the Cruxor weapon intermingling in ways she couldn't comprehend. Through the maelstrom, she heard the High Commander's voice, filled with disbelief and fear. "What have you done?" Zara held onto the cosmic blade with all her might, feeling its power coursing through her. With every ounce of will she possessed, she focused on a single thought: peace. An end to the invasion, freedom for Earth. The energy reached a crescendo, and then silence. When Zara opened her eyes, she found herself floating in orbit above Earth. The cosmic blade pulsed gently in her hands, its power dimmed but not extinguished. And all around her, she saw the impossible. The Cruxor fleet, hundreds of massive warships, frozen in space. The voice of the cosmic blade's spirit whispered in her mind, "You've done it, young wielder." The power of the Cruxor weapon, combined with the cosmic blade, has trapped them in a temporal stasis field. They are frozen in time, harmless. Zara's eyes widened as she took in the scale of what had happened. All of them? Everywhere on Earth. All of them, the spirit confirmed. Earth is free, and you, Zara, have proven yourself a true champion of the cosmic blade. As the realization of victory washed over her, Zara felt the cosmic blade gently guiding her back to Earth's surface. She landed softly in the midst of the battlefield, where human and alien allies alike stared in wonder at the suddenly motionless Cruxor forces. Elena was the first to reach her, enveloping Zara in a fierce hug. "You did it, kid. I don't know how, but you did it." One by one, the resistance fighters began to cheer. The sound swelled, a tidal wave of joy and relief that swept across the battlefield. Humanity had stood against an interstellar empire and emerged victorious. In the days that followed, the full scale of Zara's actions became clear. The Cruxor invasion force was neutralized, not just on Earth, but across their entire empire. Worlds that had suffered under their rule for centuries found themselves suddenly free. The Galactic Council arrived in force, not as conquerors, but as allies. They helped humanity begin the long process of rebuilding, offering technology and knowledge to heal the scars left by years of occupation. Earth, once a backwater planet, was now thrust onto the galactic stage. And at the center of it all was Zara, the girl who had gone from nameless orphan to humanity's champion. As she stood with John and Sarah, watching the sun set on a free Earth, she felt a profound sense of peace. "What happens now?" Sarah asked, cradling her newborn son, a child born into a world of freedom and infinite possibilities. Zara looked down at the cosmic blade, feeling its power humming in harmony with the universe around them. "Now," she said with a smile, "we build the future, together." As night fell on a liberated Earth, the stars seemed to shine brighter than ever before. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged stronger for it. And somewhere out there in the vast expanse of the cosmos, new adventures awaited. The story of Earth's liberation would be told for generations to come. But for Zara, John, Sarah, and all those who had fought for freedom, the greatest story was just beginning. The story of humanity's journey to the stars, guided by the light of hope and the power of the cosmic blade.